Good morning students. So let us start the today's class concept. So new chapter is classes and objects. Okay. So in the previous sessions in computer science, me and Vinay sir has completed the following chapters here. Okay. So the chapter 1 is typical configurations of a computer. The chapter 2 is Boolean algebra, it is almost completed, and chapter 3 is logic gates, which is done, and chapter 6 is basic concepts of OOPs, and chapter 10 is inheritance. Okay students, so you all have got what are the syllabus which is already completed. From part A there are 3 chapters completed, and from part B it is 2 chapters it is already completed. So now we will move on to the today's chapter. So that is chapter 7, classes and objects. Okay. So in today's class I will be discussing on the concepts like the definition of a classes and objects, and the declaration of a classes, how the class has to be declared, and the data members, how the data members has to be defined, everything we will discuss. And access specifiers will discuss. Access specifiers, it may be a public, it may be a private, it may be a protected, etc. We will discuss. Only 3 access specifiers are there, and then we will be discussing on members of a class. Okay. So next is so we will begin this class with the definition and declaration of a classes and objects. Okay. So you should know the definition of a class and you should know the definition of a object. Okay. So the definition of a class goes like this. So class is a collection of objects that have identical properties, common behavior and shared relationship. Okay. So in general what we say, a class is a collection of objects. Okay. So object means what here? Object means a living entity. Okay. So that is a living entity, it may be a dog, it may be a cat, anything which is living entity, it is considered as an object. Then what is a class? Class is a collection of objects. Okay. So here the class is a collection of objects that have the identical properties, in the sense the same properties will be there. Okay. Then it will be having common behavior, that is it will be having common methods, and it will have a equal shared relationship. Okay. So this is the class definition. Then how you will declare and how you will access the class objects we will see. The class definition is a process of naming the class and the data variables and the interfaces of the class. Okay. So there will be a variables. For example, V1, V2, V3 will considered as a variables. So these are the variables and the class name will be there. So this has to be defined. So this is the process called as class definition. Okay. So next is, what is a data member? Okay. This is a very you have to be very clear with respect to what is a data member, what is a member function. Okay. The variable which is declared inside the class is known as a data member. Okay. It may be a private data member, it may be a public data member, or it may be a protected data member. So the variables which is declared inside the class is called as data member. Okay. Then what is a member function? So member function means the function which is declared inside the class is called as member function. So see here, this is the syntax of a class. Okay. So look at here, the class is called as keyword which is used to define the class declaration. Then user defined name is called as class name, and private, public, protected is known as access specifiers, which will be discussed in the next class or today's class in detail. Then what is a data member and member function? So few minutes back I discussed definition of a data member and definition of a member function. Is it right? So data member means the variable which is defined inside the class is called as data member. Then member function means the function declared inside the class is known as member function. Okay. So here in this syntax, with respect to 3 access specifiers, we have defined the class. Okay. So that is the key points here. See, class is a keyword which is used to declare the class. User defined name is the name of the class, and the class is always enclosed within the flower braces. So this is the flower braces, opening flower brace, closing flower brace. So this is the opening flower brace, this is a closing flower brace. Inside that data member should be there, and inside that member function should also be there. Then collectively this is called as a class. Okay, students. So let us understand this class definition with respect to giving a example program. Okay. See here, account is the what? Class name. Then class is keyword. Then account number, amount or what? Data member. Okay. So then void get data, display data is called as member function. Okay. So this is the thing. On simple example I have written for explaining the class concept. Okay, students, I hope you all understood. See, once again I will explain this. So you should know what do you mean by class. So class is a what? It is a collection of identical objects which will be having common behavior and shared relationship. In simple terms, class is a collection of objects. Okay. So how you define a class? It will be having a class name followed by opening brace and closing brace, and it will be having member functions and data member. Okay. So now we will move on for access specifiers. So the access specifiers, in the sense the class can be accessed, 1 with respect to private access specifier, 2 with respect to public access specifier, 3 with respect to protected access specifiers. Okay. So now we will see on private access specifier. So see here, students, so private access means the member data can only be accessed by the member function. Okay. So whatever there is a member data, this data member can only be accessed within this curly braces. Outside this curly braces, we cannot access this private data members. See here, the variables, data variables int x and float y is declared with respect to private access specifiers. Then whatever there within this function, within this curly flower braces, those only should have the access to access this x and y variable. Outside that variable will not be accessible. Okay, students. So then members declared under private or accessible only within that class. Okay. So only within that class only it can be accessed. So by default, if there is no private mentioned here, okay, in few programs there is no private mentioned, means you have to analyze that by default it will be a private. Okay. So this is the information you should know regarding this private access specifiers. Okay. So private access means a member data can only be accessed by the member function. Okay. So private data will not be accessed outside of the function. Assume this is a member function. Here only the accessible can be done. Outside this curly braces it cannot be done. Okay. So this is the thing with respect to private access specifier, and if there is no private access specifier, here it is not mentioned, means then it is considered as private only. Okay. So we will move on to the next access specifier, that is public access specifier. So, public access in the sense the members can be accessed by any function outside of the class. See, you are having one function here, and here after this curly braces some other functions will be there. So, that function can also be accessed when the member functions are declared with respect to public. If it is public, it can be accessed throughout the program. Okay. Then here see, keyword public identifies both the class data and functions that constitutes public interface for the class. Okay. So, if it is declared public, then class data and functions both combinedly it will form public interfaces. Okay, students. So, this is the information you should know with respect to public access specifier. Okay. So, next is members of the class. Okay. So, members in the sense it can be a data or it can be a function. Is it right? So, private and protected members of the class can be accessed only through the member functions of the class. So, it can be accessed only through the member functions of that class. So, private and protected members of the class can be accessed only through the member functions of the class. Okay. Means by public means it can be accessed outside also, but private and protected should be accessed only by that member functions of the class. Okay. So, how the objects are accessed in the sense with respect to dot variable, sorry, dot operator. Okay. So, the public data members of the objects of the class can be accessed using direct member access operator. So, that is the dot operator. So, using this dot operator, the data members and member functions can be accessed. Okay, students. So, this is the information you should know, the content with respect to class, what is a data member, what is a member function, and the syntax declaration of the class. Then you should know the example of a class program. Then you should know access specifiers, how the member functions and data member can be accessed through public, private and protected access specifiers. Okay, students. So, if you are having any questions, please call me or Vinay sir. Thank you all.